I think the throttleman is the guy keeping the boat from crashing, and the driver's the one trying to crash the boat, which is the point. Because if you're not trying to go fast, you're not going to do anything spectacular. Yeah. So as if those two guys can balance it out, like that's it. That's where magic happens. As far as like when Shaun Torrente explains how he drives the Formula One boat, like half of him is asking for the last little bit, and the other half of him is being conservative and holding himself together, and that's called composure. And that's the two, driver and the throttleman, and he's got to do both inside that boat because it's a one-person boat. So as far as into an offshore boat, you got to have one guy that is looking for the last little bit, and then the other guy's just making sure that it's not over the top.
Welcome to Power Boat Talk, the podcast where we talk everything performance boats with your host, Joe Road.
So welcome to Power Boat Talk. Today I have Ian Morgan and Nick Imprescia, two boat racers. We'll probably say it a lot of times in this interview, but they're young guys. Although they've told me they like being the young guys, but very cool, very refreshing to have some new blood in the sport of offshore racing and powerboat racing. And it'd be cool because these guys do more than just race. I mean, they know a lot about boats. They wrench on them, and so we'll talk about that a lot. So anyhow, thanks guys for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thanks for having us, Joe. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We appreciate being able to share our side of the story and what goes on behind the scenes. It's not just exactly what it looks like from the outside. It's just like every other story, though.
Good. I'm looking forward to lots of dirt, man. So let's just go for it.
Oh, there's plenty.
So Ian and Nick are longtime friends, met, like, I guess, in grade school. You guys were buddies. And for those of you that don't know, Nick's dad, Joey Imprescia, was some people have called him one of the best throttlemen ever in offshore racing. He's got quite the history. So obviously, Nick, that's where you got your chops in boat racing. But so I'm curious, Ian. I want to hear how you got into this.
We were always around like jet skis, and we were working on the boats at his dad's race shop back in Long Island, New York. And one day we were sitting on his couch, hanging out, going through Instagram at the time, and we saw this one picture of this boat just sent midair over a huge wave, and we're like, that looks cool. We should do that. And then I was lucky enough to be brought aboard with the Impressias, and we raced in Class 7 for a couple years.
3 years.
3-4 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, got the itch and haven't stopped since.
But now, even before that, when you guys were just buddies, so you're just kicking around. I mean, from day one, when you're whatever in 6th or 7th grade, he said, "Hey, let's go over to my dad's shop."
I think it started with RC cars. I think we both heard that each of us had an RC car at home, and we're like, hey, you're weird too. You want to be friends?
So the best thing, the first time I went to go hang out with Nick, we were talking in school. We're like, oh, we play with cars. Like, I play with cars. Like, we should hang out after school. And I have 0 cents of time. So I was like, yeah, I got plenty of time after school today. Like, we can play with the cars, like, we're good. And he lived 3 minutes around the block from me. And
which we didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
And then once we started talking, we were like, hey, we're literally a block away from each other. So
him and his dad knock on my door.
He sets me up
with a bin of RC cars to come play, right? And I open the door fully dressed in a Little League uniform. I'm like, yeah, I have a game today, so I can't play with these.
Can't hang out today.
Oh, man. Nick's like, wow, bummer, man. I thought I had a buddy.
Yeah, I stood him up.
Stood up
on the first date.
Yeah. That's fun. And now, was your dad coming to play too, or is he just helping you haul the crate over there?
Oh, he was just happy to be around.
I think he was just there for the ride.
He enjoyed our all of us hanging out, all the guys hanging out, and all of his friends hanging out together. He enjoyed that. He enjoyed cooking for us and always hosting all of us at their place. My parents were always very inclusive as far as my friends and what we were doing and our hobbies and sports. So our house was the place to be as far as being young and having boats around and fast cars and fast trucks. So it was just easy to get engulfed in it. It was easy to get involved as long as you were just around. There was always something to do as far as helping out. And that's basically what Ian did. He just started helping out more and more. And then finally my dad's like, I think we should just hire Ian full time. Yeah, we might as well. He's already here. Like, you might as well get something out of it. So we went from just being friends, playing around with hobbies and toys, and then we became the three of us a little speed shop in New York that just did a bunch of high-end rigging and maintenance for a lot of outboard stuff, mainly outboard stuff, not too much stern drive, but a lot of outboard stuff, because that's just where the market was at the time. And then now it's just, blown up since then.
Right. Yeah, and you said your dad was inclusive, but I know how all business owners, especially shop owners, boat shop owners, they're just always recruiting. As soon as they see a kid that looks interested, man.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, you get $50 a day. That works. Don't worry. Come hang out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, so then Ian, so like you're gonna go over and hang out with this dude racing model cars, RC cars, and then you're like figure out what his dad does. You're like, holy shit, this is like the real deal.
So when I first met Joey, I was like, yeah, it's the kid's dad, like he's a cool guy and whatever. And then I started getting more and more into like seeing the race boats, and there was always a picture of Joey's boat, the East Coast Marine boat, the super boat. And that was always above his toolbox right there, front and center. And it's pride and joy. But I was kind of like, oh, it's cool. It's got stickers on it. It's got numbers on it. But once I kind of started to figure out that Joey was who he was and the name that he made for himself and what he did in the sport, I was like, this guy's kind of like he's the real deal. He's done some cool shit.
There was a short period of time that went by, and then finally it got brought up to his dad. And our dads were friends back in the day as well. And they just kind of lost touch, and it was cool that we all got back together, and we helped rekindle a friendship as well.
Well, that's a pretty cool coincidence, huh?
Yeah.
So Nick, obviously, with your dad's history, I mean, how'd that go? Was it always a given? Did he always feel like, do you always want to get in a boat someday? Did he talk about putting you in a boat someday? Or I'm always interested in how racers and the kids, because it seems like different dynamics.
I wanted to be wherever my dad was, as far as like growing up as a child. I just wanted to be next to my dad, with my mom as well. But my dad was always doing cool stuff, so I was always intrigued by the lab boats and the fast cars and the motorcycles and stuff. So I was always around it, and I always enjoyed it. My eyes lit up when a boat would start up around, or when we would hear a boat crossing the bay. We were always excited about it. So he never said I had to do it. He always said that it was there if I wanted it, and that it was my decision. And he helped me go to college, and it didn't really work out as far as finishing college, but he did end up letting me take as much of the business as I possibly could at the time. And that was a big stepping stone for me, to move from wishing that I can be in a boat to actually putting money together to building a boat for us. And we built a boat in our garage, small budget, and we did what we could, and we scrounged it together. But yeah, it was always a dream of mine to be a boat racer. I looked up to my dad. He was a hero of mine, so I just wanted to be a lot like him. But now that I'm a little bit older and I realize he's him, and I don't need to take that away from him. I want to be me, and that's Joey. I'm Nick, and we have our own shoes, and we're different people. And he enjoys that. He respects that, and the same from my side.
Yeah, it's cool. This is a case of my case. Like when I was young, my dad raced, but then at some point, when the family came along, sold the cars, we got into fun boating, and that was it. Never raced, and I never really got into much racing either. So I think that's probably more people's stories than your story. So it's really like you guys are really blessed that your dad was able to foster that, and you got to morph into it.
Right. I was always around it when I was really young, and then when I got a little bit older, my mom got sick. She battled cancer 4 times now, and she kicked ass the whole way through. So when she got sick, he stepped off the particular race team he was with at the time, and I said, Dad, we're going to find you a new ride. We're going to find you a new ride. When she's better, we're going to get back in the boat, and I want to work with you. And, we always dreamt about being in a boat together and going around Key West, doing laps together. And we've got to experience some really, really cool experiences together. But we never got into a race boat together yet, which we will.
Yeah.
Cool. You still up for it?
We got to crane them in.
So I'm kind of figuring out who the straight guy is and who the smart ass is here.
Yeah.
You're doing good.
It wasn't tough. So that first race boat you guys got into was I think it was a bracket, was it 700 bracket or bracket 700 class, what they call it? And what's that class? What's the rules of that class? Single outboard?
Single outboard, 60 mile an hour. I think it's 20 to 22 feet long.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a lot of fun.
It's a V bottom with a single outboard, and instead of letting budgets ruin the class, they put a speed bracket on it to keep us kind of dialed into very similar packages, and then also keeps us safe because it is a small boat and we're still racing in the same conditions. Class 1
Gotcha.
racing. So the only way to really keep us together and alive and without spending loads of money is to limit our speed. So it worked for us. We enjoyed it.
That's
we
really
learned
cool.
a lot. Yeah, we learned what it takes to put a race team together and what it takes to keep the boat.
You still get beat up.
Definitely get beat up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Chipped an elbow, fell on his lap, ripped the motor off.
Yeah, broke a bracket.
Killed the battery.
A whole bunch.
We broke a lot of stuff. Broke the boat.
Yeah.
Well, but even as so that whole idea of the bracket, the speed limit stuff's awesome because there's a chance guys like you never get into it if you got to try to be competitive with a guy that's going to build a new motor. But I can also see, even though it's 60 miles an hour, because it's only 60 miles an hour, you guys are probably really pushing like every chance you can get to make up an advantage. It's like,
yeah. We call it like running it hot. So
yeah,
you can run a real heavy 60 mile an hour. You can run a light 60 mile an hour. And our competition was tight, so we rarely ever ran a light 60.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. But no, it's great, man. It's good, putting the thing together on a shoestring. That's the stuff that teaches you grit, and you learn a lot of lessons on stuff. You break a lot of shit, right? And because you don't have the money, so it's like, we can't fudge there, right?
Oh yeah.
So.
I remember times where we would leave in the morning to go to a race site. We would wait to the last minute every time because we were still working on something else, trying to make ends meet back at home at the shop.
Figure out the hotel when we get there.
It was always like, Dad, you got the hotel room? Yeah, I got it. And then we would get there, and my mom, of course, was with us because she was very supportive as well. And we would get there, and she'd be, Joe, you got the hotel? Yeah, I got it. And we get there, we're like, all right, where's the hotel? One hotel.
It was one time we were going to a race in New Jersey. It was our first year racing, or second year, I forget. We're going to Lake Apacon, New Jersey. Got the boat loaded, truck loaded.
All the tools,
everything,
all the equipment, like to the T.
We're all ready to go. We got the rental car, so we don't put miles on our stuff.
Well, we need a Suburban to fit everybody in, so we rented a Suburban.
Oh, we brought everyone and their mother.
And we brought the whole shop. We brought the whole neighborhood. It was a big deal, right? We're going boat racing. So it was good.
9-10 o'clock at night when we finally pull in. Unloading the bags. Nick's mom.
We get to the hotel.
Yeah, we're at the hotel.
Now we're at the hotel.
Nick's mom, Debbie, turns around. Hey, did anyone put my bag in the car? We're like, you put your bag in the car. Oh my God, where's my bag? This is terrible. Whole trip was ruined.
No, it was
great.
We had a great time. For about 20 minutes.
She had a terrible time. We had a great time.
For about 20 minutes, the trip was ruined. But we made do, and we worked it out. Just like anything else when you go race, you got to work it out.
It was so funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know, man. Bringing family along with racing, man. It's it's good and the bad.
It's different when it's just like with the parents, because Nick's parents and my parents. I kind of tell my parents like, hey, go do your own thing. Like, not that I want you to come over here, but like, come hang out once in a while. You don't have to like just hover. Like, you don't have to just stay here. Don't stay in the pit. Like, just come around the pit.
Oh,
you're on
awesome.
a very loose leash.
That's awesome.
Loose leash.
Kind of a different version of soccer parents, right?
Yeah. I call her a soccer mom too. She does not like that.
Well, we're in a real fortunate place that 151 Express includes our parents like part of the team. We get to all be together and spend the weekends and the trips together, which is that's a big deal. That's cool.
Yeah, cool. So before we get into the next step, I want to know. So I'm always intrigued with this because I never raced offshore. How did you decide who got to be the driver and who got to be the throttle guy, and then tell me why that is. I mean, what makes a guy a throttle guy? What makes a guy a driver?
So I feel like this one's kind of like, not but like, it's him, you know? Like, that's who he is. Like, it's just in the name. He doesn't want to have it in the name.
But I think it was also natural because
I also just sat there in the Class 7.
When we raced Class 7, we had a foot pedal. So I drove and throttled technically at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And then I also had a bunch more years of driving that particular style of boat than he did because I just grew up in it. I mean, my dad let me drive his boat, which is the same boat, before I was able to walk. That was just natural for me. So ending up teaching him how to drive that particular boat, he was just a few years behind, that's just understandable.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The seat time, the raw seat time but the thing is he learned so quickly that by the time I graduated into a throttleman position, it was only natural for him to join me right next to me and be my right hand.
I mean, obviously that was probably the fact that you had to start, your dad's a throttle guy, whatever, I could see that. But tell me in your opinion, so blank piece of paper, what makes a throttle guy versus what makes a driver?
See, we don't have that here, which is cool because I know he can do my job just as well as I can do his job. Why we're able to jump from a Mod V style boat into a 450 boat and not skip a beat as far as trusting each other.
Gotcha.
We're just on the same page. As far as like the question itself,
like a casual observer, like is there a typical like a throttle, like I don't know, like a goalkeeper's a crazy dude, right? A linebacker's just an animal, right? So what, is there that kind of thing?
If you want to go like typical, not our situation whatsoever, I feel like a driver is usually someone that would own the boat or the team.
Well, that's just been how it's.
That's just how it's been.
But I think the throttleman is the guy keeping the boat from crashing, and the driver's the one trying to crash the boat, which is the point. Because if you're not trying to go fast, you're not going to do anything spectacular. Yeah. So as if those two guys can balance it out, like that's it. That's where magic happens.
Because it's that point right before you crash when you're going the fastest, right? So if you just hang it to that point all the time.
Like, as far as like when Shaun Torrente explains how he drives a Formula One boat, like half of him is asking for the last little bit, and the other half of him is being conservative and holding himself together, and that's called composure. And that's the two, driver and the throttleman, and he's got to do both inside that boat because it's a one-person boat. So as far as into an offshore boat, you got to have one guy that is looking for the last little bit, and then the other guy's just making sure that it's not over the top.
Gotcha. Oh, that's good. Good explanation. So you guys go from your bracket boat, and you get an offer. You can tell me how to actually drive for somebody else, right? A Mod V.
Yeah, I went from the Class 7 boat into a Class 5 boat. We did well with that. That was a lot of fun.
I wasn't in that one. I was playing bilge sponge.
Yeah, but he was my helper, and I made sure that he came to most of the races, and he was there as support. Because I knew just being around it, you were going to learn something. So as long as he was learning something, I was learning something. We were on the right move, on the right path. And then that expired, and we were both doing just working. We weren't racing at the time. And I got a phone call asking for some people to run in this new race team that they were building. And they've got a crew chief, they got a tech, they've got truck drivers, they've got equipment, they've got spare equipment, they've got boats, they've got everything together except they're missing two guys to put on line. And he said, well, I'm looking for a driver and throttleman. And I said, well, I'll run the boat. Do you want me to find a driver, or you're going to find someone? No, we're looking for whoever you think. And I said, well, I've got a guy that I know is stupid enough to get in the boat with me. So we can make this work. I said, I've got a duo that we can try if you guys want to. And 151 Express said, look, let's get together. Let's spend a weekend together, put you in a boat, and see what happens. And it was just a test session. What was it, Sarasota?
Mm-hmm.
Sarasota. We met them there, and we just spent the weekend together. We stayed in a hotel together and just saw what kind of people we are and met each other for really the first time formally. And we got the jobs by the time we left.
Yeah,
It was cool.
God, you had to be pinching yourself when you got that phone call to the time you got there. Like, come on, is
But
this
they
really
also
real?
really built around bringing youth into the sport and giving them a chance that they wouldn't normally have. We could
That's
never
really
pay for,
cool. Yeah, that's
one
really
of these
cool.
monkeys, or let alone a 450 boat. And they knew that they were going to use what they have at their disposal to give somebody that didn't have that opportunity an opportunity to showcase himself, which is cool. You know, he wants to. They want to build the next talent of the sport, is what they call it.
Yeah, God, that's awesome. That's awesome. Because the guy obviously, he's got the money. He could have gone to the well with some older guys that have been around for a while, and so that
He's
was
got the
really,
resources. He's got real good guys in his corner. He's got really good technicians and crew chiefs. He's got the right people in the right places, and it all just worked well from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say. I don't think there's anything.
how'd you like going to that first race with all that support? I mean, it had to be after doing it all yourself for all those years.
Yeah, it was like calling your friends and be like, we got a spare motor and a spare drive.
And hotel rooms.
Yeah, all first class.
Booked in advance.
Booked in advance, not like you get there and still looking for one.
Oh, very cool. And so you guys racing that. So the Mod V, right? Single engine, V bottom.
So we did 2 years. 3 years? 2 years.
221 years.
Technically 3 years, but
Like that.
2 full seasons in it.
Yeah. And then you get the job. Same guy, was it 39-foot MTI, I believe?
Yeah. So we won. Yeah, that's the boat right up there. We won the world championship in Key West with the Phantom, the 32-foot Phantom, and he graduated us into the 450 class. He's always had interest in it. It was just a matter of time until he decided the team was ready for it. And we've hit the ground running. We learned a bunch, and we're gonna continue growing, continue learning and working on the boat and our program. But I mean, it's just like anything else. It's a work in progress. Just like we are. We're working in progress.
Oh, I mean, night and day in the type of boat, right? I mean, the V bottoms they kind of drive themselves sometimes. They're a little crazy, and then that one?
It's as different as it possibly can get. When it feels wrong in one, it's perfect in the other one.
Really?
Yeah, it's exactly different.
And then I guess the Mod V class is really competitive too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because the 450 class is really competitive, right? You've got it's a good crowd out there, and obviously they've got to be stock motors, so the racing's probably really tight.
They're both awesome racing. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's tight. It's tight, both racing. There's both classes have really good teams with really good programs.
We talked about you working for your dad, and I don't know if a lot of people know you now work for Shaun Torrente. How'd that go, migrating down from New York to Florida?
Well, my parents always wanted to move to Florida. They had a house when Lake X was a big thing. They had a house right in Kissimmee. But that was before my time. And they were discussing on moving back down to Florida full-time this time. And in the mix of that, I ended up doing some boat shows and some fun runs with the MTI crew. And I met Shaun at at a fun run in Chicago. And he just gave me the time of day. Like, I was a young kid just washing boats and stuff. And he didn't just give me a minute. He gave me 5 minutes. And we just talked about boat racing. And he just talked to me like a boat racer, not just some kid that wanted to go boat racing. He talked to me like I was actually a boat racer. And that meant the world to me, especially at the time when I was so young. And we stayed in touch. And he called me it was a few days before Christmas. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, sitting on the dining room table. He's like, no, what are you doing in life? I'm like, oh, I'm still in school. Like, I'm working for my dad. He's like, well, why don't you just come work for me? Like, I would love for you to be part of the team. I'm like, okay. But like, I was 19 years old at the time. It was hard to make that decision. And he's like, how about this? 1 year later, he called me back. He's like, how about this? And he called me back. He did. He said, I'll give you a car and an apartment. All expenses paid, just come work for me.
Wow.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's go. Like,
Wow.
you kind of figure the rest out. All the hard stuff is now aside. So I took a jump of faith, and he's been nothing but family to me. And then I did about a year here. And he was like, yep, you work on way cooler stuff than I do. I'm coming down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you tell Shaun, like, yeah, okay, you got me, but I got a package deal. Like, you
I
gotta
said
take
I've got
over.
one more, and everything I'm not very good at, he is. So we can make two peas in a pod. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then he met Ian. He's like, Ian, you got a job whenever you want.
That's awesome. God, he got two of you. That's pretty cool.
We talked. So I was back and forth for like about a year just with the racing, and then I was coming down helping Nick with some jobs that he had going on. And what is March, April? Sometime in March, like towards the end of March, he's like, "Hey, dude, like now's your time. Like you're moving down." I'm like, "All right, screw it. Like when do you want me to move down?"
All right.
And he's like, April 1st. I'm like, oh, my friends are going to hate this. They're really going to hate this. So I told all my buddies back home, like, yeah, I'm moving to Florida April 1st. Like, oh, yeah, real funny. Ha ha. Like, funny guy. I'm like, no, that's not an April Fool's joke. I'm moving.
Yeah.
And then I moved down.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if this is a sore subject. How'd your dad take this? We lost two guys.
He just wanted to see us do well.
So it was good? Cool.
Oh,
That's very cool.
Yeah. When I asked him what he thought about taking that opportunity up, and he's like, 2 letters. Go. What's the worst that happens? You don't like it, and you come back home, and you do what you did before this?
Very good.
The worst thing that happens is you'll learn something.
Yeah.
And that's how we look at all of our racing and testing, and every time we do homework as far as making sure a boat is what we expect it to be before we go to the races. Try something. You're going to learn something. What's the worst that happens? You know, you try a smaller wheel, you try a bigger wheel, you try a different diameter, you try a different rake, you try engine height up, try engine height down. If you try something, you're going to learn something, and that's the worst that would happen. The best that's going to happen is you're going to go faster.
Yeah, it's just nice that he was open-minded enough. I personally, I left. I worked for my dad for like 12 years. Man, when I left, that was like the hardest thing ever because he's just like, he took it more because I was moving up. Same thing, like, hey, I got to do bigger and better. And it was, I think it was more like, you're kind of betraying me. It was a little rough for a while. So that's really good that he was more concerned with what was best for you.
Yeah, he saw how hard both of us worked, and he saw how enthusiastic we were about what we were doing. That he would give us anything he possibly could give us. And he was giving us everything he could at the time as far as, the size of the shop and the equipment we were using. And he knew that he just physically couldn't give as much as we deserved. And especially with him too. Like the three of us all deserve more than just one little small garage. Like we can be doing bigger, better things. And he wasn't going to be the one that stopped us.
After having your dad, and then I think you mentioned when we were talking on the phone, Nick, I guess John Tomlinson, I guess you've had some conversations with him. So your dad, John Tomlinson, and Shaun Torrente, I mean, oh my gosh, to have those kind of resources to coach and run stuff off of, that's crazy. These
people were names of stories around the dinner table that my dad was just telling a story, the Randy Sissom, the Johnny Tomlinson, the Steve Curtis, the Earl Lanier, the Bob Kaiser, like these guys are legends. And fast forward a few years, I'm having dinner with them, I'm working with them, I'm running boats with them, and it was like, you sure this is like all supposed to be happening like this? And it was really cool. I mean, and then Ian gets to come along and do it just as big as I was doing it. And just as well as I was doing it. And, we earned ourselves a little a little keep in the industry, and it's small, but we're gonna keep growing it.
You know, a guy like Shaun, I mean, I had him on my podcast, and, you know, one thing that stuck out with me is like he had so much stuff going. Like he's just got his fingers in so many pies. And
electric boats, Mercury
yeah.
racing dealerships,
in
and
school,
450
in the
boats,
park.
and super stock boats, tunnel boats. Oh, yeah.
You take a third of whatever he's doing, and that's most guys' whole lives, right? But
Right.
So what I'm getting at though is if you guys are living in his world and existing as an employee, like you guys aren't a joke. Like you can't fake that, you know? So you guys are, and I know he made reference to that. He made a couple really nice comments about you guys, how he had young guys that, you know, an old guy's talking. It's like, yeah, they're young guys, but they can keep up. You know, they don't whine when they work on Saturdays. Like, you know, in fact, what did he tell me? Oh, he said, they don't ask me for days off. They ask me, is it okay if I put in more overtime?
Right. Right.
So that's pretty
We
cool.
just want to make it work. We just want to make it work. We want boats to go faster.
His main thing is solutions, not problems. That's
nice.
That's what we work on.
There's so many things like that, and I think for us, it was a college experience. You would wake up every day, you would go walk downstairs. So we stayed in this little studio apartment above the shop, and that was our little dorm room. We would go downstairs and we would go to class and we would learn something throughout the day. And this year it's different. We're not in college anymore.
Yeah,
this is
nice.
You teach that old fart.
I mean, I don't know Shaun that well, but he'll probably never admit that, but you probably have. You guys have probably taught him some stuff. So
more than he wants to admit
it. he enjoys this around. He does.
Now, from the mechanical side, the technical side, from employees, like, so what exactly do you guys do? Like, what you guys said, you guys have different talent levels. Like, so Ian, what's your specialty and what's your training? Do you guys go to Merc school or anything like that, or you've just learned on your own and with John?
So we went to Mercury school probably more than a couple months ago now. But I was growing up when we were working over there in New York. I was always doing like the small stupid things, not the small stupid things, but like I was working on gear cases, rebuilding power heads. He'd throw me under the dashboard, start wiring stuff.
Sure.
So I kind of stuck around with that for a while and just kind of kept doing that. Like I rebuilt my first 3-liter 2-stroke power head. It was a 300 Pro Max. And then it was all by myself. I think Joey helped a couple times here and there. And then it was actually going on our raceboat. And then that thing the guy just texted me, went through 4 different owners. The thing finally just popped.
Oh, nice.
This year.
God knows how many hours later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, endless hours. Like beat up. The thing was raced.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. It's raced.
Sure.
Oh, it was.
2 other.
Ran hard and put away wet every time it was used.
Yeah.
Except when we took care of it. And then Joey had me doing gear cases with the eyes closed, and he was telling me how to check the backlash. Screw that dial indicator thing. Watch this. He's sitting there. He's like, "Yep, that's good." I'm like, "How? I don't know how that works." Then he showed me what he did with wires and tried to copy it, and it's only gotten better from there.
Cool.
Yeah, at School of Hard Knocks, and he definitely taught us by feel, which is sometimes a more in-depth way of learning.
You ever see the old school trick when you like this one? You remember this one? I know you do. You think you got a hurt engine, you can't plug into it. It's old school stuff. So you take a screwdriver, you put it up to the cylinder head, and you listen to it. Good.
Not good.
That one's bad.
Yeah. So my dad was a mechanic his whole life, and I'm obviously way older than you guys. So
Couple
he
years,
worked
not much.
Yeah, just a couple years. But he worked at a Chevrolet dealership for like 15 years, and they worked on flat rate. And I don't know if you know how this works, right? So you come in, and this was in the old days when they'd overhaul carburetors. So they'd say, okay, flat rate's an hour to overhaul this carburetor, right? So if you can do it 15 minutes, right, you still got your hour. So him and a buddy worked side by his best friend, worked side by side in the bay doing tune-up, and they would tag team stuff and just make a ton of dough. So they know all those tricks. He used to tell me how they would replace 1 or 2 main bearings only in the car. So that's old school stuff, right? So no, I get it, man. I get it. But man, guys that learn that way though, because you had to learn, you had to diagnose. It wasn't like now where you can go into a computer. So guys like Joey, man, like Dad, like they learn those tricks and they're good.
Oh yeah,
So,
he had all the tricks from all the different guys as far as drive stuff and rotating assemblies and then of course setup and then epoxies and Kevlars and composites and carbons and paint. I mean, he knew all the little tricks. So he never held back anything from us. He always tried to give us the benefit of the doubt and give us the best possible setup for life and in whatever situation it was. But we went from learning with him and then just learning on the job as far as working around bigger performance boats. And then when Shaun got the Mercury Racing dealership, they sent us to Merc School for the first time. And it was a lot of fun. It was cool to talk to those guys and hear some of the old time stories that we've heard as well from a different source. And then it was cool to share our current knowledge and experiences with them. I mean, I remember they were asked how fast
mile an hour gain.
How many mile an hour did they gain from 450s to 500s? And they were like, 3 or 4.
2, 3, maybe 4. We look at each other.
11?
Oh shit, we're doing something terribly wrong.
We turned around and we're like, are we doing something wrong? And I turned around, there was a Merc guy behind me. I'm like, we gained 11 to 12. And he's like, tell that to the teacher right now. And I'm like, yeah, we've seen 11, 12 mile an hour gains. And the whole class was like, you did what? But it wasn't just about, it was cool to come home and say that we had a diploma because I didn't graduate college.
Me either.
You didn't graduate college.
High school diplomas, we got those.
It was cool to have, of course. We had those, but it was cool to have something that said that we were certified for Merc.
With Merc Racing, was it outboards and stern drives or just outboards?
So we just did the outboard section of the class. Yeah. And it was right after the 500 came out, so it was as current as you're going to get as far as right now.
Gotcha. You guys have been around long enough now to know him with Joey's shop. So you saw a lot of the old stuff, but I mean, these new ones are unbelievable. They're like freaking F1 cars compared to like the 300s of 15 years ago. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, they're advanced. But I mean, they're fairly simple. As once you get around the quirks of them,
once you figure out the stupid little things they do, it's like, oh, it's this. All right, here you go. Here's your boat.
Yeah.
And then when Shaun's front fell off, the engines happened to go underwater, and they were actually easier to pickle than a 300 XS.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, even though it's four-stroke.
And the best part was the engine, the dipstick picked up a little bit from the water pushing up.
Yeah.
So all the oil floated out and stayed in the cowling and lubricated the whole engine. So we didn't have to WD-40 anything.
Nice. They didn't tell you about the self-pickling feature that they built in, right?
No, they don't advertise that.
So what's your day? Because again, you guys do so much stuff with the new because you install, right? Don't you install parts too? Like you install jack plates and stuff, right?
Yeah,
or setback brackets.
A lot of jack.
Anything we make under the sun, we'll install it.
Yeah, we make all kinds of the machine shop. The other side of the shop, it's a boat shop and a machine shop, and machine shop makes all kinds of really really cool, neat, up to date, current boat hardware and equipment. Just make boating better, faster, and safer. So we do a lot of installs, do a lot of upgrades. We do a lot of repowers, from one motor to another motor.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then we do obviously basic diagnostics and also a lot of rigging, a lot of new boat rigging, a lot of raceboat rigging.
Gotcha.
Mainly. Which, I mean, that's the best way to learn. You learn right in it. Right in the middle.
And you guys you two kind of get to touch all that stuff a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Keep it diverse like that.
Touch it, feel it, slip on it, fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kick.
All
Yeah.
good
Right.
stuff.
Kick trailer tunnels and slip
Yeah,
off
I mean, one day
decks.
we're washing boats in the driveway, and the next day we're rigging 450 race boats.
Yeah, nice. I just heard Sean on Ray Lee's podcast. Did he say, or maybe it was Myrick, that you guys have already done like 3 500 re-rigs, like repowers to 500s?
I think we did
seven.
Seven?
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
they're
kind of
fun.
like a whole, isn't it like complete, like everything, harnesses? I mean, is there much adaptive?
So it's
Take the engine off and
No.
put the new one on and
Oh,
plug
okay.
it in and go for a
I
boat
didn't.
ride.
so
Okay.
from 450 to 500 is basically plug and play. You need
Gotcha.
a few little small accessories to make it work, but
Steering cylinder.
to go from, let's say, L6 Verado to 450 or 500,
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay.
that's
That's a whole different family. Okay.
a little bit more in-depth re-rig.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then obviously going from 2 strokes to 4 strokes, which we've done too, is even more in-depth of a re-rig.
Gotcha. I know you keep saying you guys didn't go to college, but obviously you're on some really nice career paths. So, I mean, do you recommend this to guys like your age, or I mean, you guys talk this up? I mean, what can you tell guys? If you're looking for a trade, man, it seems like it's pretty cool.
Boats are good,
Boats fun.
but if you like college, do college. I'm not telling you to not go to college.
No,
I mean,
absolutely.
you hear all these entrepreneurs, do what you love, and you'll never work, and like do what you're obsessed with, what you're just utterly obsessed with. I go to sleep looking at pictures of boats after I just got home working on boats all day long.
Right.
I mean, if someone's building a new race boat, I got to know about it. I got to know what they're doing. What rigging positions are they doing? I'm just utterly obsessed with it, and I think that's the key to being successful. Is you can't just go to work. You got to live your work.
Yeah. But I just think first of all, I'm like, colleges, and I mean, there's inexpensive ways to go to college, but I mean, it's I know here in California, it's almost impossible to go to even a state school and actually work through it. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. Even the cheapest ones are just so ridiculous.
Price-wise?
So
yeah.
price-wise,
Yeah.
it's insane. It's insane. So there's just other ways to make a living, and some people, it's just, I don't know, man, all my kids went to college. I promote college too, but there's so many trades, and I don't know if people look at recreational stuff like boats and motorcycles and stuff like that. I mean, it's working on, it's mechanics, but it's something different. And you guys know this. I mean, it's something different about when you're working on something that you really like and you really care about, and it's going to go give somebody pleasure by having fun with it, so.
And one of the coolest parts is when you actually do something and you're like, my hands were in this project, and like now it's doing 135 mile an hour down an ocean. Like, this the coolest thing ever. Like, I helped rig that boat, or
Yeah, it's
I
cool
blew
walking
that
down the
window
dock
up.
and seeing something you did 2 years ago. Like, I remember when I did that one.
Yeah.
But
But,
I mean, all of our friends went to college, and they all have something else going on in their lives, and they're doing well, and we support them, but they support us as well. I mean, they knew that we were destined for.
My dad had a boat shop. He sold it to my dad. He sold it to my brother. So they had it for like 40 years. But I worked there for like 10 years and learned the business. And when he first opened it, like, I had to work there because it was how we were going to put food on the table. But I never wrenched on boats again. For a living after that. I got into sales and marketing, but I never, like, even to this day, like, I think, what if crap goes bad, I'll just go back and start working on boats. I mean, like, you always have that, it's a valuable thing, and it's just unique. So
Yeah, I mean, you do always have it. I mean, I watched my dad struggle through times between different markets and economies, but I think what Shaun built here in his little niche, as far as the machine shop, and then our clients and the type of market that we're working with, I feel confident. I feel good. I feel confident enough to bring my best boat around, and I mean, he took a gamble as well, making his whole life career about what we're doing right here. that's a heavy subject. This is not just a summer job. It's not like you could just stop tomorrow and like be where you were before. Like you're just not. Like, things have changed and things are good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Shaun, it's, when you work for somebody where he's always pushing and it's diverse. You guys, I mean, if racing gets slow, you got the recreational, you've got the parts end of it. And, what an advantage too on the parts side to say, hey, we install every single thing we make. I worked for years in a parts company. We never installed anything, and
there's times where we create problems just to make something new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we build things for all sorts of little problems and big problems. And that's kind of what our MO is just to solve problems all day long.
Yeah. And I actually talked to a buddy of mine today, and I don't know if I'll leave this in, but talked to a buddy of mine, and he actually has known Shaun for a long time when Shaun was racing as a kid. But this buddy of mine's a sales rep in the composites industry. And so he told me he spent quite a bit of time at the show walking around with Shaun, introducing him to guys in the stock boat market, because Shaun's like, hey, I got to do more than just race boats. So, I mean, he introduced him to some guys with some real high volume stuff. So my point being is Shaun's smart enough to go, okay, we can't stop here. We've got to keep building on this stuff.
Yes. That guy never stops. I don't think he ever goes to bed. He's just a clock that when you shake it, it just keeps going. And he's always shaking.
Yeah.
That guy's, his head never turns off.
No, he's always thinking of the next thing.
Yeah.
He tells me, I wake up 3:30, do my overseas business. Then I start my day. They're like, dude, it's 3:30 in the morning. They're like, go back to bed. No, they started. We're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're around someone that is that devoted, you feel secure. And it's never going to fail. I mean, he won't let it fail, and neither will us.
Right.
Not in our cards. We're not going to let this go away. We're going to keep pushing until it's exactly what we wanted it to be.
No, it's good. Good situation, and good you recognize it. That's another thing. So many young guys, man. I can't tell you how many young guys I've hired that just know more than you. Like, this is stupid. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Someday maybe you're smarter than me. And someday I want you to know more than me. But take your time. It's gonna take a little while, right?
Not yet.
Right. Of course.
So,
of course.
Yeah, it's good you guys recognize that. So what would you two cats be doing if you didn't get into boats? Would you be pro RC racers now, or what do you think?
I don't know, dude. I've been laying down some pretty sick lap times at a little RC car track around the block from us.
So actually, recently,
you're still doing it?
We just got back into RC cars.
Nice.
Like a few months ago, we bought little cars, little buggies, and there's a track not too far from us. So we've been spending some of our off time there. I guess anything to make it feel like you're going faster.
Racing's racing.
Racing's racing. It's just race
beating
track.
His ass.
Yeah, he's definitely quicker. He's definitely quicker on the track.
If you couldn't make a living racing RC cars, what would you be doing?
Well, I tried to go to school for mechanical engineering, and really the big thing was, besides not being able to afford it, like you said, financially dropping me and losing all of my credits. Besides that point, I couldn't deal with the people that I was going to school with, and they're all good people, but I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out how this rotating assembly is working the way it is. And they're playing Pokemon. And I'm struggling to keep my grades up, and they're getting straight A's. Something was off. This wasn't where I needed to be. And maybe I wasn't as intelligent as they were, and that's fine. But that's just not where I needed to be. I didn't belong there. And I didn't want to spend the rest of my life with people that were like that, and they weren't working at solving problems. Their minds were somewhere else. I just couldn't be around them. And that's okay. That's their position. And I don't know. I wanted to work on something with my hands. So I don't know what I would be doing. Working on something else.
How about you, Ian?
Went to school. Well, I went to college. Went to 3 colleges. Wasn't a great idea. That did not work out for any one of them. The first one was some weird. It was like a major for a camp counselor. I was like, oh, this is cool. Just be a camp counselor. Like, it was literally called outdoor adventure. That was the major. It's just easy. Like, play baseball at the school, have fun, whatever. That didn't work. Then I went to school to be a teacher because I love kids. And, like, it kind of sounds weird when you say that like that. But, like, I love kids. It's fun. They're fun. They're energetic. They keep you young, even though I'm still young.
Kids are better than adults.
Oh, my God, 100%.
Way better than adults.
They just have a great time all the time. And that didn't work out. I failed the 5th grade math course. So that wasn't good. Either that. So I was going to do that. And then if I had another downfall for that, which wasn't this, that was going in the union to be an electrician.
Which your dad did.
Which my dad does currently.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
But he also left out he's really good at baseball.
That too. I was. Now I'm not. I'm washed up. Old and decrepit. It hurts when I bend over. I wake up, my back hurts. It's horrible. It's so bad.
We're the youngest guys in the shop. We always say, I'm getting too old.
Way too old for this shit.
Well, it's not the greatest thing for your athletic career when you stick it in a race boat.
Bilge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Upside down in the cockpit.
Breathing carbon dust
that's fun.
for hours on end.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, so what about RC boats? You guys don't do RC boats?
I could go get it if you want.
Do you have an RC boat?
We tried the RC boats, but they're just not convenient because when you flip them, you need another boat to go get them.
Oh, gotcha.
So with the car, at least you can go walk over there and
gotcha.
flip that bitch back over.
Dude, I never thought about that. What do they do? Do they do like
you
on a little
need a kayak or you need another boat to go.
Another boat. You gotta swim.
And we had them. Don't get me wrong.
We used to swim.
We dabbled with them. We definitely played with them.
We got stuck in the mud once. I had to walk out. There was leeches in my shoes after I was done because we were in a little
Not a
lake.
good situation.
No, it was horrible.
And then it's not fun anymore.
Ruined my shoes.
Oh, that's funny.
It's a little cat though. It does like 90.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had a dude on that's all into unlimiteds, and he's in like these unlimited RC racing leagues up in Washington. Looks pretty rad.
That's cool.
I always wanted to go see a hydroplane race in person. I've never seen that. And I'm real upset because I wanted to see Shaun race Formula One. But he's
that's not going to happen.
Have you guys have been to a Formula One race out here in the States?
In the States, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you've seen that. That's cool. Yeah. Unlimiteds are pretty cool. I want to see, I had an unlimited guy, a guy named Andrew Tate, who drives an unlimited.
Yeah.
And he drives have you seen a GP Hydro?
The kneel down hydros?
No, it's called, so they're called Grand Prix. There's a whole series it's called Hydro Racing League. And they race up they race up in the Northeast. And they run like blown big box Chevys, like 1,500 horsepower deals. They are freaking badass.
Is that really with the motor in front of the guy and they sit right behind it?
No, it's in back. It's in back.
Oh.
I'll send you the
videos.
Jersey
Skiffs.
Yeah.
That's Jersey Skiffs. Yeah.
Those guys are nuts.
Those guys are psychos.
Those guys are nuts.
Yeah. We don't have the Jersey Skiffs. We have cracker boxes out here, but they're a little. They're flatter, so they're a little calmer than those. Those guys are nuts too with the cracker boxes. But the Jersey Skiff guys are crazy too.
What was really cool is when we had a few offshore races that collaborated with the tunnel boat with the Formula One teams, and we had there was events where you would go and you watch an offshore boat and a tunnel boat within a few hours of each other. That was really cool.
Yeah, Tim Siebold puts it together with the F1 guys. Yeah, it's a good idea. You get both the crowds.
For sure.
I'm sure he's doing more of those.
You ever see those guys in Australia with the little john boats and little tillers? Just ripping through like meadows.
Those guys are nuts.
But are they in Australia? I thought those guys were like Asian guys, like in Saigon or something.
No,
like
not that one.
Australia.
No. In Australia, they've got racing through these like rivers,
like little mangrove looking things.
It's an aluminum john boat with like a 50 horsepower Yamaha on a tiller, and they got one dude up front. Oh, you gotta look it up.
It's so cool.
They got one dude up front as ballast, and he's hanging onto the front, and he's just moving his weight to get the boat to set and turn.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the other guy's just hanging out, and they got this one class has like hydraulic trim, so they both get in the back of the boat. They're sitting next to each other, and they're leaning as far back as possible, and that boat's just teetering on the drain plug.
We wear helmets, full knee pads. It's
pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But we were
I'll
watching that before we got into boat racing. We're like, we got to race something.
Do this.
Like, we need to race something.
We had a 13 whaler, so we were running around the crab pots with that thing.
Yeah.
So if you guys do that, who's the guy on the front?
Oh, I'd be the idiot up front getting hit by trees and sticks.
But it was also his boat, so
Yeah, so I was pretty good at tilling
his boat. So he would run the boat, and I would back and forth, you know.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, the Australian guys are cool, but man, everything they race, they do a lot of water ski racing down there, and they do circle butts.
Yeah.
Man, all narrow rivers, man, really narrow stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Not much runoff area, man.
They got some good offshore series too.
Yeah, they do. They're circle boats, like they're like a shallow V. They got it. I just covered those. They got this bad boat. They had like 25. We call them K boats. I don't know if you guys are familiar with K boats, but like blown flat bottoms. They had like 25 of them at a race. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I love that stuff. But
yeah.
Oh, cool. So what's the plans for this year? You guys racing the 450 boat, full deal, every race you can get to.
Yeah, so we're gonna do the APBA series minus marathon and minus Ocean City.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna do the rest of them, and obviously look forward to Key West. Oh, we're gonna help Shaun when we're not at a race event with our race team. With 151, we'll be helping Shaun out with S2 or with Mead or whatever he needs help with.
Did you guys do anything to the boat in the off season? Did you play with any setups or anything?
Oh, we're always working on something.
Can't give away all the secrets.
Well, we know
you can
people
talk
are going to be listening to this, so we can't be telling all the secrets.
Gotcha. Because so it's a spec class, right? I mean, it's basically the guy that gets the setups right? The guy that gets the CG on the boat, gets the right prop, gets the height. So when you get in those races and some guy runs off from you guys, are you guys all like, what the heck did he do?
That's like, he picked the right prop.
He did his homework.
Yeah.
And he made the right call that morning. And, you know, it's tough in the boat because obviously you're not magical. You can't just force it to go faster. It's only going to go as fast as it's going to go. And understanding that is, I think, a big part of being a well-mannered team is that you can't just put it on its edge. And when the boat's yelling at you, hey, this is not what is going to finish the race. And either you crash or you break something. And that's more unfortunate than just dealing with the cards you got.
Missing setup.
Yeah, and then just working much harder for the next race.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, crashes are going to happen, but you don't want to do it pushing it when you're not going to really get anywhere with it.
And then the other thing especially with Mod V and 450, that there's such tight racing that if you're just slightly off setup, you're way far behind. And you get back to the dock and like, well, what happened? Like, did you break something? Did you do this? No, we just kind of missed it. Not really, but kind of,
Right. Well, because it's so tight,
because it's so tight, because the competition's so close, and the motors are exactly the same. The boats are very competitive, very just tight, very very tight racing, and there's just not too much you can do once you get in the boat. Obviously, it's all homework beforehand.
I never thought about that, but that's got to be when, after a couple straightaways when you realize you missed, that has to be really frustrating. That has to be a long few laps to finish that race.
Well, in 450, you could basically figure out who's going to win this race by who gets to the first turn. And how
really?
They get to the first turn.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously things transpire as the race goes on, but as soon as the green flag drops, you're like, well, I know what props he picked now. Whether he's going that way or that way, you know exactly what he picked.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's tight.
And at the end of the day, when this all washes out in a few years, where do you guys want to be? You guys want to keep moving up in classes? You happy doing this, or what's the dream you guys are dreaming about?
I think the dream's always to move up. I mean,
we know we're in a fortunate position where we get to share the cockpit together. Obviously, we'll never always be like that, but I think we're just enjoying it while we can. Buds and then team members and then getting in the boat together. I mean, it's a dream come true.
Yeah.
But as far as the next step is it'll be ours when it's there. I don't think we're gonna counter a ducks yet.
Well, just keep being consistent and
Yeah,
put in good laps and don't make mistakes. And
yeah, we're just gonna keep putting the effort in. It's not about what everybody says, God's given gift and talents. We're just gonna keep working hard.
sounds like a good plan. You guys have anything else you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I'm good.
We got to a race. It was back onto the hotel one. We got to a race in St. Clair, Michigan, and my dad didn't get a hotel, so of course. So
You guys in your hotel issues, man.
This is a real this happened all the time that we didn't have a hotel room. So
This one's good.
I mean, there's probably like 8 of us, right, on our little group. And we get to St. Clair, Michigan, and we're all on our phones looking for hotels. And we're looking for the nearest hotel. And the nearest one was like
20 minutes away from the pit.
no, it was more than that. It must have been 35,
You just
40
stayed at that one.
minutes.
It was like 20 minutes.
All right. Whatever it was. It was a ways from the pit. Like, it was not walking distance. But it was because there was a baloney convention in town. So every hotel in the area was completely booked out because of a baloney convention.
That sounds like a New York story, man. I don't know.
That was Michigan.
St. Clair, Michigan. Staring at Canada.
Yeah, Canada's on the other side.
So funny.
Crystal blue water.
That's not real. Like, you're not telling us the truth. Like, no, there's a baloney festival.
Yeah,
in
like
town.
the first time you called me, like, hey, like, is there any availability for 2 standard rooms? And like, no, like, we're booked. Like, there's a convention, there's a baloney convention. Like, yeah, whatever. Like, they hang out. And then like 3 or 4 phone calls later, and they're all saying baloney convention. You're like, what?
Can you imagine waking up someday being 40 years old and your whole career was spent selling baloney?
I mean, if it's still a thing, they got to be doing good.
Gotta be doing it. All
They
right.
got to sell a
If
good
they're
amount
traveling,
of
selling baloney.
if they have a convention for it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they might have picked the right one.
Yeah, baloney goes pretty well with beer, right?
I don't think I've tried that.
I don't know, but I do know baloney takes off car paint.
Yeah,
Put
so
a
does
little
Coke.
slice of bologna on a car, especially in the sun, it will peel the paint off.
Okay, now did you see that on TikTok or something, or did you just come up with that? Or how'd you-
Yeah.
No,
Cool.
before TikTok and all that stuff.
That
and
was self-education.
No, it wasn't. I think this is where Ian and I became like-minded. Was he mentioned this the other day? We were talking about like cartoons and stuff, and he's like, "Man, I always remember when I was sick and I didn't go to school. Everybody's like, oh, like watching cartoons and stuff." He's like,
did you watch the new SpongeBob episode? I'm like, no, I just watched how it's made on pencils. Like,
how it's made.
Did you?
It's like, I just watched how a Tycoon
And
Roman
you know the other
was
one? Mythbusters.
That was so good.
Oh,
That's where I found
that's
the
awesome.
baloney one.
Great show.
you really?
And I
The baloney
think-
one- oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where I saw that one. I think that's where I became like-minded. Probably.
Yeah.
Those are
Oh,
early-
good. No,
early
dude, those are
days.
great. Those are both great shows for what you guys are doing. I mean,
Oh,
yeah. The Mythbusters.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. That's good. I mean,
Oh, that
they
was a good
just
one.
broke shit for a living. And
Yep.
it kind of reminds us of us. Like, tear shit
Right?
up sometimes.
If
Right?
someone
If
asks
you
me a random fact and I'm like, no, that's not right. They're like, what do you mean that's not right? I'm like, no, it doesn't happen. Like, how do you know? I don't know. I watched
The
the Mythbusters
Mythbusters.
episode when I was 10. Like, it just
Yeah.
stuck with me.
Yeah. And you guys could play that with boat guys, right? Man, I did this. No, you didn't. That doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
no. We tried that one.
This is how you break it.
Yeah. And
Oh,
then,
we're good at breaking stuff.
yeah. And it's cool
Work and racing.
because being around Shaun, it's not just trying something and it felt good. Like, you make a change and you go out and you feel what the change was. No, now there's data because Shaun's really, really good at data analyzation and
We play with thousands, not tenths.
oh yeah,
Nice.
we don't look at well, it felt good. That doesn't mean anything to us. It's got the numbers.
Right,
gotta be
right, right.
I could
Right.
have Nick and Shaun on a boat, put them in the water, call it 31s on the boat, right? 39, the race boat. Put 31s on the boat, have them go out. Have them come back in, pull on the trailer. Take the props off, put the same prop back on, have them go out. Well, which prop was better? Well, I like the second one better than the first one. Hey, idiot. It was the same prop.
That's a real thing, and
Oh, I believe it.
In
I
all
totally believe
sorts of racing, like the driver tends to pick
Their
the
favorite.
setup that they are somehow just attracted to, and we kind of keep all that human error out of it by just looking at raw numbers and data.
That's awesome. That's a whole era that you guys.
Yeah.
That's the era that you
Sean's
live in.
really good at it, and he's been driving it into us, and we're fortunate for that because we know that that's where the industry is going to go, and obviously with being Merc dealers, looking at live reports and live data of engines, it's cool when you pick up the phone for a warranty claim and know exactly what they need. Their questions, you can answer them before they even ask them because you know the data.
Good that you guys embrace that, because obviously, I mean, we've been there for quite a few years, but it's just going to continue to go more and more that direction. So
yeah, we got other cool guys like Patrick Wiseman stops by all the time.
He's awesome.
We do a lot of work with him on the electric project, which is a really cool project to be part of because it's different. It's just something different.
I saw, in fact, I did an article for Speedboat on the boat when I talked to Shaun, and when he told me the Weissman thing, so I started following him on Instagram, and man, talk about a mad scientist, right?
Oh, he's done some cool stuff. Yeah.
Some cool shit. They had Formula 1 transmissions, land speed breaker transmissions. Cool shit.
Yeah, really cool stuff. And he's cool dude.
Is he? I've been thinking I always think like I'd like to talk to him, get to know him, but I always wonder like, is this stuff like
he's like Pandora's box, because once you open up and you start hearing all the stories of teams and people and project that he's been part of, you'd be like, I didn't think it was that deep. Holy crap. Yeah, he's done some shit.
Well, that would be cool there, because like I said, I always think, okay, is he just going to be over everybody's head, like talk over everybody's head, like is this shit too complicated? But when you say that'd be really cool. I need to do that. I need to reach out to him. Because I love following him, man.
Because he makes engineering dumb. Like, he talks to me about all these crazy things he does and what he made, and I'm like,
he'll start with it.
I get what you're
with
saying.
A sentence, and he's like, wait, let me dumb this down for you. but more importantly is he shares his stories with who and how they did things, not just what they did.
That's awesome. I think I'm glad you brought him up. That's cool.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, to me that overdrive, I mean, I don't know if that's adaptable or some form of that's adaptable to regular outboards, man, because it sounded really cool.
I mean, technically, I mean, it could be. It was really cool when he brought it over. We ran into a problem that the motors had so much torque that you would either just blow the props out or you would just hit a brick wall once you got up to top RPM. So we wanted to be able to change at the boat ramp gear ratios. So the med scientist, Shaun himself, they all got together and we came up with a few ideas. He came over and he's like, look what I've mocked up. We installed it together and I mean, he used really, really cool parts that he dreamt up out of nothing.
Made in house.
Yeah, it makes everything in house. Like we make everything in house as far as brackets and all of our hardware.
Talk about an understatement, right? Hey, just look what I mocked up. A whole new gearbox.
A whole new gearbox.
I thought the cool part of that too was how Shaun had, I can't remember what size props they were, but Shaun had a really good set of props, and it was like, hey, it took all the prop testing out of it because we knew we had a great set of props. Yeah. And now we just adjust the gear ratio to the props.
Right. We used a prop that gave the boat the best attitude, and we knew that would be the most efficient if we can just make it do what we were trying to do on paper. And it's cool because like that thing that disappears when you go from paper to reality. When you have guys like Shaun and Pat and some of the other engineers and technicians that we